What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolfbrother Mythos from the channel Wolfbrother Hobbies, and welcome to tonight's video. Tonight it's a simple video. I am in crunch time. We are 1 week away from WarDome, which is the convention near me that'll have the 40K grand narrative that I'm going to, and the army's still not ready, so I need to hustle, I need to bustle, and I need to get this army ready. So how far off am I? Well, remember, if you were here with me at the end of the last stream, I vowed that the Terminators would be done. And I vowed that the bikes would all have a start to them by the time you showed back up. And I'm only half right so far. Okay, so I did the washes on the Terminators. They're all dirtied down. I've got some grimy Custodians. But they're still lacking their basing and the energy effects on the weapons. So they're very, very close. The basing scheme I do on them is super simple. It's really just got to crank out those energy effects. So with any luck, those will be done and ready to hose down and seal with matte varnish tonight. Then, did I make it? And that's all three of them. You know, there's the captain with his big old plume head. Okay. And then there's the other regular Terminator. So, there's my three guys. There's the biker, which I did get magnetized up. So, and then I realized, I may have told you guys last time, I didn't have enough flight stands, but it turns out I don't have enough bases for them either. So I've got a Amazon Prime order in, and hopefully they'll be in on time. Although, to be truthful, up to 2,000 points, I really only have just one bike captain, just to kind of like, you know, add some backline pressure or score some lone objectives. So this one has been oiled down and grimed down, although I used a different gloss varnish on it this time before I did my enamel washes, and it didn't come out as dirty. So I might go in for a second passive. Well, actually, this has been two passes of oil wash. Shaky hands, Vito. Shaky hands. This has been two passes of oil wash, so I may go back in, or enamel wash, so I may go back in for a third pass. But, because it still doesn't quite look dirty enough. Not like the rest of my Custodes, that look like much dirtier. Now it might change once I get it super matted down, or what's it called, ultra matte varnish. But so far, it is cleaner than the others. It sounds like you're talking about strippers. I don't even know what I said anymore. If I'm being honest with you. So anyways, so bikers, I have the one important one, the one I'm using up to 2,000 points. The others just come in once we do the big 3,000 point game at the end, which I may or may not even need. I mentioned before that I didn't have enough flight stands for all my bases. And like I said, I've got the bases themselves ordered on Amazon Prime. Hopefully they'll be here in time. As for the flight stands, oiled down and looking dirty. Yeah, baby, yeah. As for the flight stands themselves, I have been searching around the internet, and I happened to find in a Facebook group when I asked around about these flight stands specifically for jet bikes that look like you know, a cloud of exhaust or a cloud of, you know, just dust as the jet bikes are racing by. And somebody finally directed me to Deadly Prince Studios, and that's where I found these flight stands. They come with a little knob on top, so if you have ones that haven't been magnetized like this one, you can just pop it in the hole, glue it down. And I decided to try and be special And so I didn't just do that, which probably would have been the smart thing. The only thing is that Oni had some like these, and me leaning over the table, like not even, being doing anything major, I just leaned over the table and accidentally broke one of these off their stands. I was like, maybe that might be good for FDM printing, but resin printing, maybe that's too brittle. So I decided to nip off the little ball end here on the first one and magnetize it, which I'm having mixed results with. Like, I'm pretty confident if I stick them in a box, it won't just snap off while I, take them to the shop or to the convention or whatever. But it's not as solid as I would like. Now, this is the same magnet size that I did on the first bike, the bike Captain here, and this one seems solid, right? It's the same magnet size. I don't know if it's because this one is straight up through the bottom, and this one is kind of like on a little cliff here. It doesn't have like that direct top to bottom support. I don't know, but this one came out much like the magnets are in the same spot, right in the little mounting spot in the middle, where the hole normally is to put the flight stand in. So it's mounted in the same spot there. And they're the same brand of magnets, same size of magnets, but this one just seems so much wobblier. I don't know. I'm not super confident about that, so we'll see. Dust plumes, yes. So I'm not sure how to fix that. Maybe I won't magnetize on the others. My only concern is that if I don't magnetize, if I just glue the flight stands in, if it snaps, well, then that'll be obstructing the hole, right? And then it'll be hard to replace that, to fix it, to put it on the stand, I think. I guess if it snaps off, I can still drill in to the plug. I don't know. What are your thoughts, guys? What do you guys think about how I should fix this? If you guys have any ideas, let me know. If you guys have any experience with magnetizing, I'm not, like, I love the dust plumes look. This is exactly what I was going for when I wanted to print flight stands. But I'm not 100% sold on how to fix the magnets and whatnot. But yeah, there was 2 points where I really wanted to magnetize all of these because I've seen so many people snap the lances on these. And so I'm like, well, if I magnetize the arm, that will make sure that it, is more likely to pop the arm off than snap the lance, which is fine. And I wanted to magnetize at the flight stand just so that way. That's another place where I tend to see these break off, is they usually break on the flight stands. Maybe a rod magnet that goes from the bottom of the bike into the plume. That's a good idea. Maybe I should order some rod magnets. Good thinking, my brother. Good thinking. All right, and then other progress. While I was in the hotel this week, I was away for work, and I made a start on these 4 Sisters of Silence that I need for my list, because I just have one squad as little objective holders. I put the dirty gold down. This is Necro Gold from, not P3. This is from Scale 75. Necro Gold. It's a very worn and dirty looking gold. And yeah, that's what I'm working on. As soon as I finish this first bike, Captain on bike, and the Terminators, I got to get these ladies done, because that will get me close to my 2,000 point list. So swap out the magnet. Maybe it's just not conducting, or whatever the term would be, enough to stick properly. Stronger magnet. Yeah, it's true. And these are just random magnets that I grabbed off of. This one was either eBay or Amazon, but true, could be the polarity is off. Good ideas, gents. Okay, let's see which one. See if one of them has a stronger connection than the other one. Nope. That's not bad. Maybe the one down here. Yeah, that one doesn't seem nearly as strong. Okay. So you're right. Maybe I need to chip out this magnet, or just start on a different plume. Try checking it out. Or maybe next time drill deep enough that I can get 2 of these magnets in. Maybe that would help too. But good thinking, guys. Good thinking. So that has been my progress this week, and hence you can see how many places does the bike touch the stand. Maybe 2 rod magnets. It is only one spot, but it's a pretty solid flat spot right there in the middle of the bike. So, however, on the plume, it's kind of a, you can see there, it's kind of like the apex of this little peak here at the top of the smoke plume. It's actually a relatively good point, though. Maybe it's just the way it's balanced on that peak. If I slid the magnet back a little further so it wouldn't be hanging so far over the cliff, then it'd probably be fighting gravity less and probably be sitting a little bit like here. Well, that's going to take some drilling and gluing to work on, but I think you're onto something, gents. I think you're onto something. Inquisitor, my friend, you are not too late. I just started. I'm running a bit late tonight. I was working out of town this week, and today was kind of a catch-up day. But yeah. So, tonight is just going to be me randomly yapping and hoping I pay attention to the chat enough while I scramble to try and get this army painted up for the event, because I have an upcoming narrative event next weekend. I've got my captain here, who we might dirty up another round tonight because he still looks way too clean. We'll probably let the streaking grime sit a little bit longer this time. And we grimed up the Terminators as well. They're just waiting for their power weapon effects. So tonight we'll be, I think we'll be griming this guy down again. We'll also be doing the power weapon effects on the Lance here, and the 3 Terminator axes. And if we have some time after that, we will probably do the basing. Although, we'll see about that. I have a clear base here, and I don't want the super glue from my basing to to fog up my nice clear flying stand here. So might we'll see. We'll see. I might, I don't know, put some tape around it or something to keep it from, doing that super glue fog. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, I've got a nice clean paint job, and then all of a sudden anything you had that was a semi-clear surface starts to get that super glue fog from the vapors. I do declare it's giving me the vapors. At least you don't sound like Papa Nurgle got to you on the airplane. Dude, I was a little worried yesterday and a little bit this morning. My voice was starting to get that kind of scratchy feel. I'm like, not again. Last time I got on a plane, I didn't have a voice for like several weeks. I have had to, suck on a couple of uh, the best halls, which are the honey halls. That is the undisputed fact in this family, is that the honey halls are the best halls. Um, so, and the whole family agrees on this. I just got to do checks every once in a while to see if my wife is watching the show. But yeah, but other than that, man, it's been good. It's been good. Those of you who haven't been in the Wolfbrother Hobbies Discord, Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor has been going to town on some new. He had his a custom Space Marine chapter, but now he's been doing some writing and reworking, and he's probably created, I don't know, about three. I want to say three, maybe four new custom Space Marine chapters in the last several months. And I mean, he's been doing color schemes, writing lore for them, and of course he's doing some kit bashes. He's been doing some Primaris tactical squads, and they've been looking real good. So like if you're a person who likes the extra bits and details, he's been taking lots of the bits and pieces from like the more flavorful Firstborn sets, including, having some Deathwatch veterans in his army, and taking them with like intercessor bodies and things like that to kit bash some Primaris versions of his tactical squads, which are really cool. So, speaking of Space Marines, how does everyone feel? You're welcome, my brother. How does everyone feel about them announcing Primaris drop pods? Now, the drop pod doesn't look like it's changed a lot, but I think this is more important for what it kind of means for the drop pod, because people have been wondering, some of these Firstborn vehicles are legends, so what's going to happen to these legends like the Rhino, like the drop pod, when there are no more Firstborn? And a lot of people have been wondering if they're just going to axe these very classic, iconic Space Marine transports. Well, now we have the answer for the drop pod. It's going on. Okay? The community has been axing about it for a while. And, we finally have our answers. We know that the drop pod will stay into the Primaris era. What's crazy is that they kind of advertise it in the community article a little bit as being reproportioned, you know, to fit in the Primaris Marine aesthetic. But the side by side comparison looks like they're still about the same size, so I don't know. But I think it's cool because that means that, drop pods will still be around. And of course, they'll be Primaris friendly. I mean, can Primaris take drop pods now? I think so, yeah? I think I remember putting some Assault Terminators in, or with that Blood Claws. It's all one chapter, though. The idea just keeps evolving. That's cool. You know, I have had lore for my Silvermoon Space Wolves in my head. I've had it for years. And man, I should take some inspiration from you and just sit down and make the time to actually put pen to paper and write out what exactly my lore for my Silvermoon Wolves is. My only thing, I think one of the reasons why I keep putting it off though, is that if I attempt to write anything of my lore, by nature it being a custom chapter, right, or custom whatever, is that it's going to be different from what came before. And by being different from what came before, I'm always worried that the rivet counters of 40k are going to hunt me down and be like, well, technically you can't do that because that would never happen because of this lore in this book or this lore in this book. And while I'm just like, I'm just making up a silly story in my head for my toy soldiers. Like sometimes lore experts get really upset when you try and make your own lore in their universe, which I'd like to say I guess I can understand. There's years of rich history in this franchise, but at the same time, like almost like being able to color your things your own, your armies your own way. I think being able to write your own lore or make your own stories, they shouldn't necessarily have to fit a mold, Maybe it's because I'm always trying to put my own twist and take on stuff. Whether I'm cooking, painting, doing music, in the words of one of my favorite cooking YouTube channels, I like to put on my twist, my take. Don't blink. Yes, space, time, it flows. It does indeed. It does indeed. I think the last time I did this show, I forgot to tell you guys how the practice game with my Custodes went with Atlas. My Wolves history doesn't mesh. Oh, mesh up so pretty either. Oh, it doesn't mesh with canon so well. To me, it all depends on context. If you're trying to have it fit within canon, I'll have notes. If you don't really care if it fits, then I'll have significantly less notes. Exactly. Right. If you are trying to fit it in the canon, right? If I were to go and say, like a Mary Sue or Gary Stu, if I were like, oh yeah, I'm best friends with Ragnar, and I'm the long lost son of Logan Grimnar, and that's why I have my own chapter, because me and my dad couldn't share a chapter, so I became a long lost chapter. Yeah, if I were trying to Mary Sue it up and try and force my story into very direct hidden things, I totally would get that, and I would understand if you had some notes. I always try to have mine fit the canon. More fun for me. I mean, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. right? But and it's kind of like painting minis, right? I feel like you can paint the box art, you know, or follow the pre-established script if we're talking about painting or story writing, or you could go off, off page, and you could either build your own story in a non-canon way, and that's just your storyline for your toy soldiers in your head, or you could follow the guidelines the same as following the box art, right? I think just people should be able to hobby their own way, and yeah, like seek their fun as they see fit. I take the broader theme and run loosely for it. Oh yeah, it's funny. My my Silver Moon wolves and my own Wolf Lord, the very egotistically named Wolf Lord mythos. Um, that that comes from just like one line I read somewhere, and I'm not even really sure I remember exactly what story or whatever it was. Um, but there was one line somewhere that a wolf priest said about you know uh, a space wolf can never be possessed and unwillingly turned to chaos because um, in order for it can't they can't be possessed because when they go through their trials at the gates of Mokai, each of them are chosen by a wolf spirit, and that once they're bonded with the wolf spirit, unless the wolf spirit is killed, the wolf spirit protects the spirit of the space wolf. And I'm like, man, I like that line about wolf spirits, and that's become just like a broad, a huge part of like the lore for my space wolves. Like this one simple, probably a throwaway line, you know, that somebody wrote at some point in time, and I was like, ooh, that's going to be like the basis of my entire chapter. I've come to collect your soul. Ah, get in line. I like that. In a way, I don't know if I have any Simpsons fans here, but it kind of reminds me of like one of the first Halloween episodes where Homer exchanges his soul for a donut, but then when the devil tries to come to collect, it turns out he can't because Homer had already given his soul away to Marge. It's kind of the same there. Now, as like the case with Skylar's Dark Wolves, you know, uh, they can't be possessed and forced into serving chaos, but uh, they can choose to go to chaos, which is just an affront to all of Fenris, all of Fenris. And we will fight it. We will track them down, and we'll deny that it ever happened. My wolves are original legionaries that went on the hunt for Russ and have become like the 13th company. Nice. Are they the original Jarls of Fenris that left that first time, or that were they one of the original 30k Great Hunts that left uh, after Russ's original departure? Lying about traitors? You might be in the wrong legion. Space Wolves have always been in the camp of, you know, we don't talk about Fight Club when it comes to things going wrong with their own people. So until the Wolfen came back as part of the standard part of the army, if one of the Space Wolves brothers were to lose control of their gene seed and wolf out and undergo the transformation to become werewolf-like, the brothers of his pack would be tasked with hunting down that long-lost brother and killing him and, trying to hush, killing him and, in an attempt to prevent information getting out about that that there was any corruption in their blood. And I honestly feel like they'd have the very same kind of pride about anyone suggesting the whole Skylar's Dark Wolves, because they are proud of their ability to resist chaos. And the thought of one of their brothers willingly going over the dark side would probably be such an affront to their senses that if anyone were to ask them about the existence of Skylar's Dark Wolves, they would probably just deny, deny, deny. They would have so many Egyptian rivers. That's just my thoughts on it anyways. All right. Got the cloak done on Sister of Silence #1, and I think just adding in that secondary color is already giving her some life. That pup Skylar needs an armored boot squarely between the cheeks. Hell yeah. With the wolf time coming closer now, they're reappearing in Imperial space. One of the first after Russ left. Nice. Kane, my brother. Looks great. Ah, yes. Charles, my brother. I'll keep listening, but I need to throw some dice and get the game on my table moved along. Nice. I haven't yet mentioned how the game... I don't think I've mentioned how the game night went when we played for my brother's birthday a couple of weeks ago. Because I think that was the last time I streamed. It was right before the birthday. That went super well. Brother Kane gave me a defeat on my last set of the night. I think he was my only defeat that night too, which is pretty cool. Hey, Big Loves Richard Smith. Good night to you as well, my brother, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. Yeah, we had some great games that night. I got to pull out my brand new Blue Eyes deck, and it did really well. And I've only gotten to play that one a few times, but like I've solo gamed that one many times, like practicing draw hands, practicing combos, and man, it popped off just the way that I was hoping it would. So that one I was really pleased with. Oh, yes. You are very welcome. I'm excited to see if you do anything with those crystal beasts. And you know what? I won't even require that you talk like Jesse. Jesse from the show is the owner of the Crystal Beasts, and he sounds. I'm not sure which part of Texas it sounds like he's from, but he does sound like he's from these parts. Jesse sounds like an old ranch hand. So we're putting down our purple on these cloaks. We're putting down our purple on these power weapons we're about to do. And I think, yeah, that's just going to be some really good progress for the night. Does this mean you're going to talk like Kaiba Mythos? Exactly, Inquisitor. From now on, anytime I'm playing Blue Eyes, I'll talk just like Kaiba. And I'll sound very annoyingly arrogant. And all of my opponents, I'll treat them as if they're second rate duelists with a third rate deck. I may be posting another deck that I recently thrown together this weekend sometime. Nice! Man, I am itching to put up some Yu-Gi-Oh content. I've just been so focused on trying to get stuff ready for the WarDome. I was just telling Atlas, like, I don't know how I got here. I was like, a week or so ago, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of ahead of schedule. I think I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be on time, not rushing at the last minute to get my army painted for the WarDome. And then I discovered I still had, like, five Sisters of Silence that still needed paint. And, then I had a work trip out of town. And then all of a sudden, time just got away from me, and now I'm behind. I'm like, ugh. On the 3,000 point day, I know that last year the force organization charts, the force organization rules were pretty loose for the 3,000 point game, so I got to stop by the store and ask Manager X about that, because I should be okay if I can substitute a second. Like, I have one knight in my 3,000 point list, but if I can substitute a second knight in my 3,000 point list, basically this stuff here will catch me up painting wise, which will be really handy. Otherwise, man, I need to paint up a second grav tank and the rest of these bikes. Once again, you ever do something the first time, you knock it out flawlessly? Not this guy. Nate, my man, I hope you're doing well. I'll work on the accent, no promises. Be sure to say the most batshit insane shit, whatever you do. We're going to send those cards into space. Because if there is intelligent life out there, let's teach them how to duel. Nate, my man, how are you doing? You guys ever do something the first time, knock it out of the park, no problems, just like I mentioned earlier? You know, just taking a little piece of clear rod that I had lying around, that's just like a nub I had, and magnetized the base. This one worked out perfectly. And then I tried and replicate it a second time, and you guys saw the one earlier. It's like all floppy and stuff, and I'm like, man, how did I mess that up? Okay, I did the same thing. I did the same thing with the next grav tank that I printed, right? So here's this one. Looks fine, right? Move it. It's got some decent heft to it and stuff like that. And magnetizes well, right? Took me a little bit of force to get off. So it's nice and secure on its flight stand. I printed off a second one. And I magnetized it in pretty much the same spot as the last one. But it just, again, it's floppier than the last one. I don't know what happened. So what I'm saying is basically my first attempt at magnetizing flight stands on both of these projects went perfectly. My second ones on both of these things, man, I don't know what's up. If you don't remember, that is a thing Kaiba actually said in GX. Oh yeah, because that's when he sent Jaden's cards into space. And he did his little competition on which cards were going to get sent. Weaker magnet, maybe? They're from the same pack. I don't know. Unless just like in the pack they had, you know, like inconsistent strengths. Although, note to self, if I ever become an astronaut when I grow up, I must send one of my dueling decks into space. Thank you guys for helping me remember that, because I need to teach them how to do. Just got back in from a drive. Very nice, very nice. Gotta collect that space dust energy or some shit like that. Exactly. But it can't be the wrong space dust energy, or I'll have to accidentally, you know, create a villain like Yubel. Although she was a little tsundere to begin with, so, you know. I vote Victoria and Cyberjar, please. Send them into space. Hey, you'll be happy to know that Victoria is officially out of my Cyber Dragon deck now. Although, maybe I should make room in my side deck. Yeah, I feel like Victoria should be sided. So, GX got really weird and dark in the final two, especially the final season. Yeah, exactly. But still, I mean, it was weird. It was kind of dark, but it was still worth watching because I was like genuinely interested in what was going to happen. The whole Supreme King Jaden existing as kind of a, time paradox thing was kind of cool. I totally believe you. It really isn't in the deck at the moment. Just because the new version of Cyber Dragon has so little space. Like, I really only even have, like, I think I have, like, 3 hand traps in that deck. You know, which for modern play is pretty light. But, like, there's just so little room in that deck. So, Kane really loves the card Stardust Dragon, and I lightly say that we used to. Now, I mean, I for the most part still abide by this rule, but I'm also kind of the one who I didn't technically break this rule first. Okay, I'm just going to preface it that way. But I did maybe cross a line without breaking the rule. And so now nobody follows the rule, I think. But we had, like, you know, just a friendly agreement before that our favorite dragons we wouldn't use against each other. So each of us had, like, you know, the dragons that were like, that's a Kane card. And for Kane, it's always been Stardust Dragon. Even though right now, Scrap Dragon is technically a stronger deck. But, you know, for him, it's always been Stardust Dragon. And, you know, like I said, we wouldn't use that card against each other. At least, you know, we wouldn't build it into our deck. Like, I wouldn't take a Stardust Dragon in my deck to play against Kane. Because that's Kane's monster, right? It's his favorite dragon. Why would I do that? Did you ever watch the final season, only the Japanese with subs? I have not. I intend to. I caught the kind of Cliff Notes version on YouTube Shorts, just because it kept popping up in my feed. So finally, I was like, okay, let me check it out. But yeah, I haven't actually watched it myself. So Kane and I were dueling one day, and this was like a little, like, not quite a tournament, but we were doing like a 3v3 elimination kind of game that night. And anyway, so I was playing against Kane, and during our elimination, and I used Dark Hole to send his his Stardust and all our other monsters to the graveyard, which Stardust has the effect. Well, you could just send Stardust Dragon to the graveyard to negate something, and then it comes back at the end step. You know, so he negated my card with Stardust Dragon, and it was in his graveyard for the negate effect. And like I said, it normally comes back at the end step, but then I normal summoned a 4-star card called Victoria, and this beautiful lady has a wonderful special ability that says you can, while she's on the field, you can special summon a dragon-type creature from your hand once per turn or either player's graveyard. And so I special summoned his Stardust Dragon that was used to negate my effect. I was like, Victoria! Bring back Stardust Dragon! And that's the last hit I needed for Kane. And Kane didn't even talk to me. Kane stared at me for a second. Like, just stared. Like, you son of a bitch. Like, the shock. Like, did you just use my Stardust against me? Well, I mean, I guess technically. technically, yes, I used Rose Stardust against you, but like I didn't play Stardust. I just happened to, use my card effect to obtain Stardust in this game. Cold blooded. And it seems like because, I was the first one to I don't think I broke the code, but since I was the first one that, was uh accused of breaking the ceasefire there. Man, people whip out Black Rose Dragon on me all the time. I don't think that rule exists anymore. Although still to this day, I love that the extra deck for synchros is like a utility box, right? A toolbox. So there's lots of things that don't fit your deck maybe that just go in there for the toolbox with synchros. But I want it known, I still don't ever put Stardust Dragon or Scrap Dragon in my extra deck when I'm playing against it. I do threaten it with Victoria all the time. Well, well, well. If it isn't the consequences of my own choices. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Wait, you mean there are consequences to my actions? Brother Roxas, you'll see him in the chat sometimes as Brother Geary, said to me because uh, Kane brought up Victoria recently while we were at the birthday party the other night. And so, of course, we relived the story of Victoria together. And Roxas goes, you know what? I sometimes feel bad when I kill you with your own Black Rose, but then it's stories like this that remind me why I do it. I'm like, oh yeah. Once again, oh, there are consequences to my actions? Ugh. I don't know what's colder, killing him with Stardust or locking everyone out of Black Rose. Well, everyone uses Black Rose now. And Black Rose has a pretty cool, explosion effect, but she really doesn't have any follow up unless you're playing a plant deck anyhow. So, although now that I've got her evolved form, Ruddy Rose Dragon, she's much cooler now. And Black Rose Digivolved? Exactly. And even though it's been years, I just got the evolution form uh, this year, like a month or two, no, about 2 or 3 months ago, just because I didn't know it was out. Like I said, we were away from the game for several years. So I had no idea that there was an evolved form, which Ruddy Rose is, to me, like exactly it just works so perfectly with Black Rose, because to make Ruddy Rose, if you use a dragon or plant synchro, like your Black Rose, then when you synchro it, you can also destroy all of your opponent's monsters. So in theory, if the opponent has back row, you could blow up Black Rose, get it back, using a myriad of other cards, and then synchro it for Ruddy Rose whenever you want to destroy your opponent's backfield monsters. Or you can synchro and not explode it, and then just synchro it into Ruddy Rose and only take away your opponent's monsters, not your own. I still have managed to resist buying more Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Hey, that's awesome. Although if you ever feel the urge, you can always blame it on the old Wolfbrother. Because it will probably be, there's a good chance it will probably be my fault. Man, it feels like that birthday party where we were playing cards wasn't very long ago. I suppose it was only like 2 weeks ago. But it was such an awesome night. And then this weekend we're celebrating my lovely wife's birthday. So big shout out and happy birthday to my lovely wife. You're welcome, my love. There was a funny Yu-Gi-Oh related moment with a coworker recently, actually. Oh, nice. Tell me about it. I broke down, bought 2 deck boxes of Dark World and 2 boxes of very older cards that were on sale at Miniature Market. Nice. Trying to get me to start collecting again, and I was like, no, I got enough expensive hobbies. At least it's not Warhammer. Yeah, because that would be crazy. And then you laughed in Votan. That sounds like some awesome acquisitions, my friend. I think I showed you guys that I got in 3 of the starter decks of the Crimson King. And so I recently also got 3 structure decks of the Fall of Albaz. So that way I can build an Albaz deck. Although I know it's not going to quite be the same, since Branded Fusion is limited to 1 now. But I think it'll still be fun. Just the monsters in it seem really cool. And I've always liked Fusion kind of based decks. Well, that turn went quick. Humans passed initiative and got slaughtered. Oh no! I just remembered the oldest Yu-Gi-Oh archetype. Cosmo, Wizard of Oz X Star Wars. Oh yeah, I love how one of the modern meta archetypes is called Malice, and it's Alice in Wonderland. It's a very Alice in Wonderland based archetype, and it's just really cool looking. I want to say it's Alice in Wonderland X something or other, but I can't remember what the other thing is. Oh, oddest, not oldest. The new decks that I'm building, I've been filling up with a lot of ritual cards and monsters. That's cool. I So the new way to play Blue Eyes is to really focus on just the level 1 tuners and the synchro options for Blue Eyes, which is cool, and I like doing that. And I've even leaned into that a bit, but I've also leaned into, they say that Dragon Maids, I love Dragon Maids. My wife wants to make a Dragon Maid deck, and my brother Kane here in the chat has also made or started making a Dragon Maid deck. And that one is loosely based on the anime Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maids, and that was a great series. My friends, my wife, we all enjoyed that series a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing some Dragon Maids decks start circulating into our group. But so they say that the most optimal way to play Blue Eyes right now is to have the fewest number of bricks in your deck, which are basically cards that you can't play, that you can't really play right away. They've got extra conditions such as tributing or things like that. And so most people cut out the ritual monster out of the Blue Eyes decks, which is Chaos Max Dragon. But Chaos Max Dragon is my favorite Blue Eyes, so I just leaned into that. So I'm running 2 Chaos Max, 2 Chaos Forms, which is the ritual card for Chaos Max, and I'm running 3 cards called. Am I running 3 currently, or am I running 2? I think I'm running 3 cards called Pre-Preparation of Rites. So it lets you fish for a ritual monster, and then the ritual that goes with it. Now you can't get the ritual if you don't have if you weren't able to get the monster, but altogether, yeah, so that's like had 3 chances to be able to pull with 1 card both parts of my Blue Eyes, and I think that is just going to be so far. Chaos Max showed up twice in 3 games last week. So, yeah, that was awesome. And one of those was one that I still lost, but still, it was a fun set. So I definitely am glad I took a focus on Chaos Max. There's also a Dark Souls archetype, which I think is called Ashen. Very cool. I knew there was a Dark Souls archetype, but I didn't realize it was the Ashen archetype, because I'm not super familiar with that archetype. All right. Now I need to. It is actually almost time for us. We got another 17 minutes. You know what I think I can do in 17 minutes? I think I could do some dry brushing in 17 minutes. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to start putting down some dry brushing of white on the edges of our weapons and stuff like that, where we want the purple to do some nice transitions into the pink of our energy effect. And then at the end of that, we'll go back down to where the blade kind of meets the casing of the weapon, and we're going to airbrush in some darker, shade kind of in there. So I don't think we'll make it right now to the airbrush step, but we're going to go ahead and put in our highlights. So that way, when we come back with the fluorescent pink, it'll just make those white areas pop out nicely. And there's a crossover that ruled the game, Burning Abyss, based on Dante's and Divine Comedy. Nice. Check you later, brother. Hey, tell Darklight Dreamer I said sup. You gents be safe, and big loves to you guys. Alright, put just one drop of water on my brush. Now we're rubbing it all over my hand to try and get out that excess moisture. We just want it lightly damp. Okay, then we dab, 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 dab. Dab. Alright. See if I have enough of this off for some light dry brushing. Bum, 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 bum. For some reason, Smells Like Teen Spirit is in my head right now. So, fun fact, I learned about Warhammer lore that doesn't make any sense. Apparently, the War of the Beast only lasted 2 years. Interesting. Man, nothing wraps up in only 2 years in Warhammer. Alright, getting our dry brushing on. Laying down some highlights for our energy effects. War on Rinceworld took 3 years. You know what? That's fair. And now thinking about it, a lot of the Gaunt's Ghost wars only lasted, a few years like that. I guess, when I'm thinking of wars like in Space Marine terms, a year seems so fast. Probably because they're virtual immortals. But yeah, other races, can move a lot faster. Well, Gaunt's Ghost was in the Sabbath Worlds Crusade, right? Right. The Crusade lasted 20 years, yeah. That's why I'm always surprised that the individual wars, like when I thought about it, like the individual wars on that was like, a year or two at a time. But yeah, I just had to change my perspective there for a second. Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab. All right, got some highlights on our weapons. I want to wait for that to dry and go back for another pass of a pure white. Kind of in the middle of that highlight. All of Horus Heresy was only 10 years long? Really? Why does it seem like it was so much longer than that? Like, for real, 10 years? That's crazy. Nine years, wow. Man, a lot of shit happened in 9 years. All right, second highlight. We're going to add one more drop of white, and we're just going to go around the edges of these axes with a little pure matte white. And then we'll let all that dry, and then after the show here in a minute, I'll break out the airbrush and go back with the fluoro pink. Off for the night, got some overtime tomorrow. I'll be spamming Discord with model updates all weekend. Me too, because I'm going to try and finish up these Terminators and that Captain, and maybe even these girls this weekend. So that way, the next week, I can just focus on that second grav tank and hopefully be ready to go for the tournament on time. Not working up till the last minute. Last year, I did the Friday night show. Then I continued working on my models till after midnight for the event the next morning. And we're not going to do that this time. We're going to be on time. So, good night, brother. And dry brushing done. So that's where I'm going to call it to. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. This was definitely just fun to have you guys chatting with me while I laid down some paint, helping me get my work done for the night. And I feel like I've really made some good progress tonight thanks to you guys. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you guys liked tonight's episode, please make sure that you grab up an axe and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. Drop me some comments down below and feel free to be part of any of tonight's ridiculous conversations. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to the Friends of Wolfbrother Hobbies in the link tree below, and if you're not subscribed to this guy, we'd love to have you as part of the pack here on the Frost and Fist. So subscribe. Until next time, guys, stay frosty.